picture in a second. May not be morning for you, maybe watching this afternoon or tomorrow. This is very unusual format for me. It's very difficult for me to teach a class when I'm not able to interact with each of you, so thank you for bearing with me. But this is a good alternative. Hopefully we won't have to do this very often. If we do in the future have to do this for a prolonged period of time, we'll meet through Google Meet so that we can actually interact. That's similar to Zoom. But hopefully we won't have to go there. So for today, we're going to go ahead and review some of the problems from the worksheets that you did, because I know that was confusing for a few of you. And I'm also going to introduce book 4 to you. So, if you need to go ahead and get book 4, you can take a minute to do that, while I pray and make a couple of announcements. As far as book 3 test, I'm going to go ahead and hand it out to you next week. I had planned on sending it home this week, but I want to make sure that we have a chance to meet in person for me to tie up any loose ends or to answer any questions that you might have. Also so that we have the opportunity to work that diagnostic test. So let's go ahead and pray, and then you can grab your book 4, and we will get started. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for your love and for your many blessings, and I thank you so much that we can continue to have class even though we're unable to meet. Father, it may not be the best format, but we still thank you for the provision that we have now. Lord, we pray for each student, and I know some are out of town right now. I pray for them. I pray for those that may be not feeling well or are having requests in their lives that we're not able to share together, so I lift them up to you. We praise you for your many blessings, and we thank you that you are God, that is in control, and that you love us. Pray that you'll bless this time as I teach. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I would say raise your hand if you're here, but that wouldn't do any good. So we're going to start out today by reviewing some of those worksheets. I'm going to start with a couple problems from the simpler worksheet, and then I'm going to go and work some from the more complicated worksheet. And I will probably work some of the harder ones from the complicated worksheet, because if you're able to do the harder ones, then you're able to do the simpler ones. So I'll work a few of those. You may still have a few that you have questions on, but hopefully after today you can apply what I'm showing you and be able to do those. This will give you a time to catch up on those worksheets. Now, when I give the test on book 3, these type of problems will not be on the test. You do have to learn how to do them. You will see them again on ACTs and SATs, things along that line, but they will not be a part of the chapter 3 of the book test. Now, I will tell you that I might give you a couple of those, probably will give you a couple of those type of problems as a bonus. So, if you feel comfortable with these and know how to do them, then that'll really benefit you. You'll be able to get some extra points there. And I always encourage you to try to get any extra points that you can get. So let's go ahead and start with the worksheet. This is the easier one, and you'll have a 44 and a 45 copied on the bottom. This was from a long time ago. I made my own, composed my own textbook, and this would happen to be on page 45 and 46. 44 and 45. So I no longer use that. I like this curriculum, and I'm able to add a little bit when I need to. So that's where that 44 and 45 came from. But on the particular sheet, starting on page 44, I want to work one of each type of problem. These are a little bit simpler, and then we'll move on to the harder sheet. So we're going to start out with pretty straightforward problem, number 1. And we're looking for 2 consecutive integers. Now, integers, as you know, are numbers on the number line. It can be negative or positive, but we're looking for 2 consecutive integers, meaning that they're in order. When you learned how to count, you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive numbers. You don't jump around. Well, maybe when you were learning, it was 1, 8, 9, but when you count regularly, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're looking at numbers that follow one another, okay? So these are 2 consecutive integers that have a sum of 57. When you see the word sum, that means you're going to add those 2 numbers together to get 77. So I want to talk about what my 2 integers would be. I have no idea what they are, so my first number is x. That's one of the numbers. Now they're consecutive, so that means it's just going to be one more than x. So my second number is x plus 1. Okay, there's my 2 numbers, 1, 2. I know this looks like 3, 1, 2, 3, but this is a number and this is a number, okay? And they're going to add up together to be 77. So let's go ahead and do x plus, my second number, x plus 1 equals 77. We're going to go ahead and combine what we can on this side of the bridge. We have x plus x is 2x plus 1 equals 77, okay? Now, my 2x does not like the 1 hanging out with him, so he's going to kick him to the other side of the bridge, and he'll become negative. So we're going to go ahead and put our 2x, and on the other side of the bridge, 77 minus 1 is 76. Okay? Now, all you have to do now is to divide 2 into 76. We know that 2 goes into 7 3 times. 3 times 2 is 6. You subtract, you get 1 and bring down your 6, and 2 goes into 16 8 times. So x is 38, okay? So this is right here. My first number is 38. My second number would be whatever x is. X doesn't change. X is still 38. 38 plus 1 is 39. So there is my answer. And 38 plus 39 should equal 77 if we're correct, and it does indeed. Okay? All right, so that was the basics of it, and hopefully that will help you to go on. But then you have a few problems that are like that, and then it moves down to, well, let's do one that has 4 consecutive integers. Okay, let's just do one that has 4 consecutive. And so I have one number, my first number is x, I don't know what it is. This is my second number, x plus 1, 2 numbers. I need 4 of them, x plus 2, and x plus 3, okay? 1 number, 2 number, 3 number, 4 number. And that this, as far as which one you're following, which problem we're doing right here, we're doing number 6, okay? And the sum of this is going to equal, on number 6, 74. Not 674, it's going to equal 74 for number 6, okay? So I take my first number, x, plus, because it's a sum, x plus 1, plus x plus 2, plus x plus 3. Now, on this side of the bridge, let's go ahead and make that simpler by combining what we can, okay? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 x's. That's no surprise because how many numbers do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4x. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my numbers together. I have 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. So I have 4x plus 6 equals 74. Now my desire is for my x to be all alone on one side of the bridge, and he's over here on the left side, but he's hanging out with the 6 and he's not real happy about that. So he's going to kick the 6 to the other side, and when he crosses the bridge, this positive 6 will become negative. 74 minus 6 will be 68, and 4x equals 68. You're going to go ahead and do your division problem. We'll do this. 4 into 68. 4 goes into 6 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. We subtract and we get 28, bringing down the 8. 4 goes into 28 7 times. So the answer x is 17. So our very first number is 17. What would 17 plus 1 be? Well, that would be 18. 17 plus 2 would be 19. And 17 plus 3 would be 20. So there are our 4 consecutive numbers. If you add all those numbers together, you should get 74. And in this case, you do. So those are your answers there. Okay? All right. By the way, I know you can't stop me and ask questions, and that's the thing I hate most about this format. But be sure and send me an email. I've had a couple of you that have called me before. I know that we can always do a messenger chat if we needed to. We just need to set up a time that we can do that if you need help. Okay? So let's look down at the rest of the, I want to do an even and an odd number for you. Okay? Let's look at number 8. So I have 2 consecutive even numbers that have a sum of 42. So I know that these numbers are going to add together to be 42. So with the even numbers, my first even, I don't know what it is, so it's x. My second even number would be, we got to do an even number, would be x plus 2. We're going to skip the 1 because 1 is not even, okay? So x and x plus 2. So I'm going to add those together. And it said that the sum of that was 42. Same thing here on the left side, we're going to combine what we can. X plus x is 2x plus 2 equals 42. Now, my 2x does not like this 2 hanging out with him, so he's going to kick him to the other side of the bridge. He's positive, so he'll become negative. And 42 minus 2 is 40. And I know that 2 goes into 40 20 times. So my first number, and it needs to be an even number by the way, 20 is 20. That works. I add 2 to it to get the second number, so 20 plus 2 is 22. 20 plus 22 is 42. So there is your answer. Okay, let's do an odd one because we got to do the odd one just slightly different. Okay. All right, on the odd ones, this would be looking at number 9. We have 2 consecutive odd integers. Now, when you're dealing with odd integers, our first number is not going to be x because we have to add a 1 to it to be odd. For example, if we had x and then we had x plus 1 as the next number, then this number would be even because if you took like 1 and you added 1 to it, 1 plus 1 would be 2. If you had 2 and you added, in this situation you'd add 1 to it, would be 3, but you couldn't have, you don't know what x is. So what I'm going to want you to start with is, when you're dealing with odd integers, your first number is going to be x plus 1. Okay? And in this situation for number 9, they're asking us to do 2 of them. So here's our first number. Our second number is x plus 3. Okay? And we know that we have a sum in this situation of 92. So we're going to add these two together to get 92. Okay? We're going to x plus 1 plus x plus 3 equals 92. Let's look on the left side of the bridge and combine what we can. X and x is 2x. Again, no surprise because we have 2 numbers. Okay? 1 plus 3 is 4 equals 92. 2x does not like the 4, so we're going to kick him to the other side of the bridge and subtract him, and we get 88. 2x equals 88. X would be 44. Oh, wait a minute. That's an even number. Did we do something wrong? No, because we come up here and our first number was x plus 1. What is 44 plus 1? Well, that's 45. What is 44 plus 3? That would be 47. 47 and 45 do add up to equal 92, so we are correct on that. Okay? Now I know that some of you are saying, I know how to do this in my head. I really don't think I need to do the work. It's very, very important in algebra, even though it may feel like a waste of time for you. It's very important for you to do all your steps. As we get into more complicated problems, if you're not writing down your steps and you get your answer wrong, you're not going to know what you did wrong unless you can go back and look at your steps. Sometimes you'll look back and you're like, oh, that was supposed to be a negative. But if you didn't write it down, you don't see it. And so it's just much better to take the time as you go. You may have heard your parents say, you know, if you're going to clean your room, do it right. Don't just shove everything in the closet and under the bed, okay? Because if you shove it under the bed and in the closet, eventually it's going to spill out and it's going to be a harder job, right? Same type of thing. When we're doing algebra, let's do it right. Write down your steps. Even though I know you feel like it's a waste of time, write them down because we want to go back. And even me as your teacher, you've already seen I can make a careless error. And if I don't have the steps written down to show you, then I don't know where I made that error. So it's important for you to write down the steps, okay? So that is the first page. Now the first page, the front and the back, there are problems that are very similar. You're going to do odd integers. So remember, if you're starting with consecutive odd integers, x plus 1 will be your first one. If you're dealing with consecutive even integers, it's going to be x as your first number, and then x plus 2, and so forth. Okay? So keep that in mind as you do that. You should be able to go back and complete the rest of this page if you got stuck. Let's move now to the problems that were a little bit more challenging. This would be the sheet that said Integers Worksheet Algebra, and I had crossed through, you'll see an abbreviation for VESA. V-E-S-A. I don't want you to have to use that. We're gonna do it the exact same way. And so these get a little bit harder. The first few start out just like the ones on the other page. But then we start getting down to, flip the page over to the back side. And you start getting to numbers like, let's look at number 7, for example, because the difference with number 7 is, and I think we had one like this on number 2, I think on the front of the page was similar to this. We have 3 consecutive odd integers, and it's going to end up equaling negative 219. Okay? So we want to figure out how to do that when we have the negative sign. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and get my paper so I don't have to keep turning around because we're gonna have some interesting things here. Okay, get my right thing out. Wrong page, just a second. Gotta get it together. Here we go. This is the page I'm looking for. Okay. All right, because I see a negative answer, here's how I'm gonna do this. My consecutive odd integers, remember my odd integer is normally x plus 1 that I start with. But because my answer is a negative 219, that negative sign, I'm going to have my first number be x minus 1, okay? My second number is going to be x minus 3, and it says we have 3 consecutive ones, so x minus 5, right? The minus is because this totals negative 219, okay? Just so that you can be aware of that. Now, let's go ahead and add these three numbers, 1, 2, 3 numbers. Let's add them together and solve for x, okay? So I'm going to do x minus 1 plus x minus 3, plus x minus 5. So here's the sum. We're adding them together, and these are the numbers, okay? Let's go ahead and combine everything that we can that will match on this side. I have 1, 2, 3 x's, which is no surprise, we have 3 numbers, so 3x. And let's go ahead and combine all of our numbers. A negative 5 plus a negative 3 is a negative 8. A negative 8 plus a negative 1 is a negative 9. Okay. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to come over here, and the 3x does not like that negative 9. We're going to kick him to the other side of the bridge, and he'll become positive. And negative 219 plus 9 is negative 210, okay? Now, because this ends in 0, we can do this a little bit easier because I can say how many times does 3 go into 21 and then just add a 0. 3 goes into 21 7 times and add my 0. But I want you to pay attention. I have a negative and a positive, so my answer is going to be negative. Now, you say, oh no, that's an even number and we're supposed to have odd numbers. Well, yes, that's right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and plug this in, and x plus a negative 1, because we're dealing with sums, x plus a negative 1 is going to be x minus 1, sorry, plus a negative 1, same thing. Plus a negative is negative 71, okay? X plus a negative 3 is negative 70. We'll get this together, 3 again. And then the last one, x plus a negative 5 is negative 75. These are all odd answers. This goes with this one, and this one. And if you add all those negative numbers together, you end up with negative 219. Okay? So let's go back and just kind of talk about this again. We have a negative number on the right side of the equation. So in order to do that, I'm going to have my first number be x minus 1 because it's consecutive odd integers. My second number is x minus 3. My third is x minus 5. We're going to add those together, x minus 1 plus, x minus 3 plus, x minus 5. You add your x's together, you get 3x. Add your numbers together, a negative 9 equals negative 219. Add your 9 to the other side, and you get 3x equals negative 210. 3, or negative 210 divided by 3 is negative 70. Negative 70 is x, so negative 70 plus a negative 1 is negative 71. Negative 70 plus a negative 3 is negative 73. Negative 70 plus a negative 5 is negative 75. Okay? All right. So that shows you how to do it. You would do an even one the same way. Okay? So let's look at another one. Number 2 is going to be done similar to that, except it's just 3 consecutive integers. It's not the 3 odd integers. Okay, let's look at number 8. Okay, so on this one we have the sum of 4 consecutive integers equals 7 times the greatest of the integers, and we want to find the integer. So let's talk about the sum of consecutive integers. So I have x as my first number. Consecutively we have x plus 1, x plus 2, and x plus 3. That's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 numbers. Now let's see what it says. The sum of 4 consecutive integers, so we're going to add them together, x plus x plus 1 plus x plus 2 plus x plus 3. And it says that that's going to equal 7 times the greatest of the integers. Well, which number is the biggest? This one, this one, this one, or this one? Well, this is the biggest one. X plus 3 is the biggest one. And it's going to be 7 times the biggest. So the way that we would write this would be 7 times x plus 3. Okay. First thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and deal with the bullies on the playground. Okay? So in order to, and it was, wait a minute, was it supposed to be even? Even integers. Sorry, let's go back. I just noticed myself. All right, I just noticed myself. Okay, let's start this problem over. Even integers, my first one with even is going to be x, then it's going to be x plus 2, then it's going to be x plus 4, and x plus 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 even integers, okay? And that's going to, the sum of those, x plus 2, plus x plus 4, plus x plus 6. Now we're on track. The biggest of these 4 numbers is x plus 6. And it says that it's going to equal 7 times x plus 6. Now we always deal with the bullies on the playground first, always. So we look inside, we can't combine them. So we have to do the distributive property, or this 7 wants to date both of these girls. Okay? So 7 times x is 7x, 7 times 6 is 42. Okay? So that's on that side. Let's combine everything we can. Now we have 4 numbers, so this should be 4x. Okay. Then I'm going to add my numbers. 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 6 is 12. Okay? So 4x plus 12 equals 7x plus 42. Now, I want to get my numbers together, and I want to get my letters together. Doesn't matter which one you move, you'll get the same answer, but I'm going to go ahead and move this 4x over the 7x because I like to kind of keep it positive. So I'm going to subtract my 4x, and I'm going to get 3x, and I'm going to add my 42, and I have my 12 here, still on that side of the bridge. Now, my 3x does not like the 42, so we're going to kick him over here. And 12 minus 42 would be negative 30 equals 3x. Okay? Now, 3 goes into 30, goes in 10 times, but it's a negative and positive, so negative 10 equals x. Right? So x is negative 10. We're going to add 2, so negative 8, negative 6, and negative 4 will be your answers on that. Okay? All right. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I wrote down the right amount of answers on mine, but yeah, negative 4. Those are the right answers for that. If you want to know if you're right, you can take your x and just plug it in everywhere you see an x. You put a negative 10. A negative 10 plus a negative 10 would be a negative 20. Plus 2 would be negative 18. Plus a negative 10 would be negative 28. Plus 4 would be negative 24. Plus a negative 10 would be negative 34. Plus 6 would be negative 28. And we're going to do 7, and we have a negative 10 here that I'm plugging in. 7 times negative 10, or let's just add this first so we can combine it. Negative 10 and 6 is negative 4. And negative 4 times 7 is negative 28. And that checks out. Okay? So I went through that quick, I'm checking. So once, if you know how to get to here and you want to know if you're right, here's your x. Go back to this equation where you wrote it all out and put a negative 10 everywhere you see an x. And then it should end up equaling each other. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead and do, we might go ahead and do like the last one or close to the last one because those are kind of tricky. And then I'm going to let you try to work on these at home some more. Okay? All right. I want to go ahead and do the last one because we're going to deal with a little bit of a fraction. Okay? It says the half of the smaller of 2 consecutive even integers is equal to 2 or more than the larger integer. So let's first of all figure out what our integers are going to be. These are even integers, so I have x and I have x plus 2. Those are my integers. Now, we're not going to put these in and find the sum because it's asking us to do something different. We have to know these are two numbers. Let's see what it says. Half of the smaller, which one's the smaller one? This one right here. So I'm going to say half of x. I know some of you are seeing fractions and you're wanting to run away, okay? It says that half of the smaller is equal to 2 more than the larger. This is our larger. So I'm going to write x plus 2. And it says it's 2 more, so I add 2 more. Okay? So go back through there again. Half of the smaller, half of x equals, we have to write, it says 2 more than the larger. Well, the larger one is x plus 2, and we add 2 to it. Now, let's combine what we can over here. This equals x plus 4. Plus 2 is 4. This is half x. Okay? Now, I want to go ahead and move this x to join here, so I'm going to subtract. Okay? Just subtract 1. If you want to write 1x, if that helps you, you can do that, or just subtract x. Okay? 1/2 x minus x is negative 1/2 x, and it equals 4. Now, I have a negative and a positive, so my answer is going to be negative. I'm going to go ahead and set that. That's going to be negative. All you have to do is take half of 4. And half of 4 is 2. So x is negative 2. Okay? So that would be how you would solve that. All right? Okay. So that, hopefully that will help you out there on those answers. So your answers would be on that. I didn't go back and fill it in. It would be if x was negative 2 and x plus 2. So x plus a negative 2, negative 2 plus a negative 2 would be a negative 4. So your answers are negative 2 and negative 4 on that previous problem. Okay? Sorry about that. Just move right ahead. Okay? Let's do one more, and then we'll move on to making sure that you've been able to complete your book. Okay, let's do number 11. 5 times the larger of 2 consecutive odd integers is equal to 1 more than 8 times the smaller. Okay. We have 2 consecutive odd integers, so let's write them. Remember, we're dealing with odd. My first one's going to be x plus 1. My second one's going to be x plus 3. Okay, those are my 2 numbers. First of all, which one's the smaller? This one's the smaller. And it says that this is the smaller and this is larger. I'm mixing up the 2 problems. So smaller, larger. It says 5 times the larger of them. So we're going to write 5 times x plus 3. Okay. It says it's equal to 1 more than 8 times the smaller. Well, here's my smaller one. Put our equal sign. 8 times x plus 1. That's my smaller number. And it says one more thing. It says it is 1 more than 8 times. So we got to add 1. Okay? So let's go back and talk that through. My 2 consecutive odd integers. It says that 5 times the larger, there's my larger one, I multiply it by 5. It says it is equal to 1 more than 8 times the smaller. Let's do 8 times the smaller first. 8 times x plus 1, and then add that 1 more. Okay? Now we got to clear these parentheses out. 5 times x, this boy wants to take this girl. We have 5x. Oh, she's pretty boring, so we move over to the second one. 5 times 3 is 15. We've cleared that parentheses. Coming over here, same thing. 8 wants to date that x, we get 8x, and 8 times 1 is 8. And then we have this 1 hanging out there. Over here, I have something I can combine. I can combine this 8 and this 1, so that equals 9. I'm just going to copy this, because we can't do anything on this side yet. Now I want to move my numbers together and my letters together, my variables and my numbers. Okay? I'm going to move this 5x over here with the 8x. He's positive, so he'll cross the bridge and become negative. And I get 8x minus 5x is 3x. I'm going to copy that 9, and 15 still on this side of the bridge. Okay? 3x is not like the 9, so we're going to kick him to the other side of the bridge, and he'll become negative. 15 minus 9 is 6 equals 3x. 3 goes into 6 2 times, so 2 equals x. Now, we have an even number, but remember our first number is x plus 1, so 2 plus 1 would be 3. 2 plus 3 would be 5, so 3 and 5 are your numbers. If you want to know that you're right, I know some of you are like, why do I want to do any more work than I have to? But if you're just curious to see if you got the right answer, take that 2 and plug it in wherever you see an x. Okay, and remember, if you plug in a 2 here, 2 plus 3, you can combine those. So that would be 5 times 5. Okay, which would be 25. Might as well check this with you. Okay. Put a 2 here. 2 plus 1 is 3. And 3 times 8 is 24. But we got to add this 1. And it equals 25. So 25 does equal 25. So it checked out. Okay? So I hope this helps you out. I didn't go over all of them, but maybe by doing these, you'll be able to go back and complete some of the ones you were stuck on. So I want you to do those, finish those for homework. If you were just frustrated and didn't do any of them, you get an extension this week because we're not meeting. You get an extra week to do it. So I do want you to have those complete when you come back. Now, notice I said complete. I'm not going to grade them to see that you got them all right, but I do want you to try it, and I do want to see that you've done your work, that you've written your steps out. That's very important, okay? So all I can ask you to do is your best, and that's the best that you can do, but I do want you to do your best, okay? All right, so I'm going to trust you to do that. I'm going to put these papers together to kind of keep them in order here so I don't lose them for future classes, and there we go. Got that. And I'll have the next week in case we need to go over some more if you have questions. Now let's kind of look at the end of chapter 3. I just want to review a couple things here, and then we will we'll move on. I'm going to work a few problems from the practice test because some of this stuff that I added for you to finish, we didn't get to go over. So I really want to look at, especially on page 37, the very end, I want to work a few of these problems with you, okay? Now, the first one, and what I'm going to do is these are not numbered, so I'm going to go from left to right. Okay, so we're going to start at the top. And this one, you should feel comfortable with doing this one right here. 16x equals 560. Okay, I know it's a big number. All you have to do with this one, 16x means multiplication, so to solve for x, you do the opposite. It would be division. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to divide 560 by 16. All right, now it may take you a little bit to get this, and I'm going to go ahead and tell you that 16 will go into 56, I believe it's 3 times. So 16 times 3, 3 times 6 is 18. Yeah, or is it too much? Too much. Make sure I did my division right here. 16 into 56, we said 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 4, 5, 58 is bigger, so I got to go down. Anytime that you do that, you check that to see if it works, okay? 2 times 16 would be 32. And then I subtract. 6 minus 2 is 4. 14, 140. So I'm going to go ahead and let's just take a guess. Let's see if that will go in. Let's just guess 5. 16 times 5. 5 times 6 is 30. 5, and then we add. Is 80. So I can go, we can go a little bit more. Let's try 7. 16 times 7. Sometimes this is trial and error when you're not using a calculator. 6 times 7 is 42. 7 plus 4 is 11. Okay, it's not going to, we go one more time. 16 and 8. Okay, 6 times 8 is 48. And 8 times 1 is 8, plus 4 is 12, so 128. Okay, not going to go any more because 12 more would be 140. So we have 128, which I got to change this to 8. Okay, I'm going to subtract this. 10 minus 8 is 2. We get 12. You can add a decimal, bring it down. 120 we already figured out. This is equal. No. Not gonna. Anyway, let me go back and see what I'm doing wrong here because it's not coming out even here. And it should be. Did I do the right number? Let me just see here. I was thinking that it was 16 times 35. 30. 8. 18. No, that's too much. was thinking, let's try 16. This is trial and error, y'all. Just bear with me here. 9 is 54, 9, 14, 12, 3, 4, 6, 464. It's going to go more than that. 16 times 30. Sorry, y'all. 0, 0. And I can just look up the answer in front of me and try to figure out what I'm doing wrong. 3 times 6 is 18. 480. Yeah, let's see here. Let me see what I'm doing wrong. Let me check the answer book and I will see what I am doing wrong. Okay, but anyway, you're going to divide. And sometimes you'll have to play with the division. Okay. This is awful, but I'm just a simple problem's got me stumped. This is one of the easier ones. Okay. So we're looking at the answers here, book 3. And this would be on page 37. That is 35. That's what I was thinking it was. Why did that not work? Okay, let's see here. It is 35. Whoops. All right. 35 times 16. We're going to try this again. 6 times 5 is 30. 6 times 3 is 18, 19, 20, 21. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. There we go. I have no idea why I was stumped on that. I was thinking it was 35 and then it wasn't working, so I apologize. So 35 is your answer. Y'all are saying, I've got it figured out, I've got it figured out. I don't know, just one of those moments that my brain went, ding. But anyway, you're going to take this as means multiplication, you're going to divide, and you'll get 35. So that type of problem should be easy. Looking at the one beside it is kind of like it. Negative 22x equals 440. On this one, you have a negative and a positive, so you know your answer is going to be negative. And 22 goes into 440 20 times. Okay, so the answer is negative 20 because we have a negative and a positive. So multiplication, and you divide, and you get negative 20. So I'm back on track. My brain has kicked in again. Now, the one, we can skip the next one because it's similar to that, but go to the middle column on the total left side. X over 12 equals 5. Okay. Now on this one, we didn't get to spend a lot of time in class, so I really want you to get this. Okay. When you see a fraction, that means division. Okay. So you're always going to do the opposite to get the x by itself. Well, the opposite of division would be multiplication. What will we multiply? Well, we're going to multiply the 12 and the 5. And so 12 times 5 would be 60. That takes away the fraction, x equals 60. If you wanted to know if that was correct, just plug it in. 60 divided by 12 is in fact 5. So that works. Okay? So again, always do the opposite. A fraction means division. The opposite of division is multiplication, so 12 times 5 is 60. There's your answer there. Look at the one beside it. We have x over 3 minus 1, and it's equal to 20. Now, my x, I do have a fraction here, but I'm not ready to do multiplication yet because I have this negative 1 hanging out with them, and he's not too happy about that. So he wants to get rid of the 1, so he's going to kick him to the other side of the bridge, and it's negative, so we're going to kick him over here, and we get 21, and x over 3 equals 21. Now remember, we have a fraction here. We do the opposite, which is division. So I'm going to, the opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to do 3 times 21, and I'm going to get 63 as my answer. Okay? I think my brain is recharged now. All right. Now, what about the next one? What about when you have x over a negative 5 equals 100? Okay? All right. Well, just watch it. Again, this is division. You do the opposite, which is multiplication, but you have a negative and a positive. So you're going to do 5 times 100, but because you have a negative and a positive, it's going to be negative. So x would equal negative 500. Okay? All right. A couple more that I want to show you on the written test. X plus 6 over 6 equals 14. Okay? All right, I have a fraction. So in order to deal with this fraction, it means division, we're going to multiply. Okay? So I'm going to do 6 times 14. And 14 times 6 is 84. Should have known that. So I have 84. Oh, I don't just have an x here though. I have x plus 6 left. Okay? I went ahead and got rid of the fraction by multiplying by 6. Basically what's happening is if you multiply both sides by 6, it gets rid of the fraction. And 14 times 6 is 84. And this is what you're left with. So x plus 6 equals 84. Now, my x does not like my 6, so we're going to kick him to the other side of the bridge and he'll become negative. And we get 78. So x equals 78. Okay? All right. Another one like that. Can't hurt to work some more. So I want to make sure you feel good with this. X minus 10 over 25 equals negative 2. First thing, we see a fraction. I want to get rid of that fraction, but I always do the opposite, guys. So it's going to be multiplication. Basically, you're multiplying both sides by 25. That's what you're doing. This cancels out. I'm left with x minus 10. Excuse me. Negative times a positive. 2 times 25 is 50, but it's a negative and a positive, so it's negative 50. My x does not like my 10, so I'm going to kick him to the other side of the bridge and he'll become positive. And in this situation, x equals negative 40. Okay? If you wanted to check it, all you would have to do is to plug this 40 where you had the x in the original equation, negative 40 minus 10 or plus a negative 10 over 25. Okay? Negative 40 plus a negative 10 is negative 50 over 25. And a negative and a positive, 25 goes into 50 negative 2 times because a negative and a positive, and that was our original. And so that checks out. Okay? Again, I'm not asking you to check it, but if you were, when you take a test, it's always good to check it to make sure that you did it right. Okay? All right, so that was the new stuff that wrapped up book 3. I will be giving you the test, sending it home with you next week, not this week. This week, I'll probably send you a couple handouts to practice some of this that you just learned, doing some two-step equations where you're having to get the variables on one side, the letters on the other, and then dealing with the fractions where you're solving for x, okay? Just so that you feel pretty good about that. Now, book 4, I want to introduce the very beginning of book 4 to you. I'm not going to give you much. I know, you don't want a lot of homework. But I want us to talk about, starting on page 1, I want to introduce you to a term called polynomials, okay? In book 2, we said that a term is a single kind of expression where multiplication is the only operation. This book is about expressions that are made by adding and subtracting terms. These expressions are called polynomials. What we mean by that is something like this. 4y plus 7 is a polynomial. It's a polynomial in y. X squared minus 5x plus 2 is a polynomial. It's called a polynomial in x. 3a plus 2b plus 5c is a polynomial. It's a polynomial in a, b, c. 3x, what do you think? That's a polynomial in x. 3a to the 4th plus a to the 3rd plus 2a to the 2nd plus 6a minus 7 is a polynomial in a. Now, we have different types of polynomials. First of all, you can have a monomial, that's one set. So you have monomials. You have binomials. Sometimes a binomial would be something like this. Something like that would be like a binomial, 2 sets. You have trinomials and so forth. Trinomials would be 3, like riding a tricycle, but we're not getting there yet. What we're starting with right now is we're going to be starting with naming the degrees of the polynomials. So, most of the polynomials in this book are polynomials in the variable of x. We can list polynomials in x according to their degree. The degree of a polynomial in x is equal to the highest power of x that's in the polynomial. So what we're talking about here is, let's look at this one. This one has y. Now, when you're looking at just a plain number without a variable, there is no degree with that. Y, how many y's are there? There's just one. So this would be a first degree polynomial, okay? If you just had the number 7, that's a 0 degree polynomial because we don't have any variables. We have one variable with no exponent, just one, so that would be a first degree, okay? Let's look at this one. I have an x squared, I have an x, and I have a 2. The degree of this entire polynomial, we're going to look at the one that has the most x's, and it's this one, 2. This is a second degree polynomial because the exponent is 2 and that's the highest one, so that's a second degree polynomial, okay? Looking here, what about when you're dealing with something like this? Well, all of these have variables, so they are a degree polynomial. None of them have exponents, so they're all just 1, so this would be a first degree polynomial. This one right here, 3x. We only have one x, so it is a first degree polynomial. There's just one of them. Look at this one. I have 3a to the 4th, a to the 3rd, 2a to the 2nd, 6a, and negative 7. Well, the one that's the highest is this one, and the exponent is 4, so this is a 4th degree polynomial, okay? So you're going to go ahead and go through and label at the bottom of the page the degrees of the polynomials, and then on page 2, we're going to add some polynomials together, okay? We'll add them together. So here's the example. Here's the first one. 6x minus 7 plus 4x plus 5. And what we want to do is we want to take things that match from this one and this one. This is a polynomial, that's a polynomial. They're separated by a plus sign, okay? We're going to go ahead and add these together. I want to start with 6x and 4x. It's a positive 6 and a positive 4, so let's add them together. 6 plus 4 is 10x. Now I match up my numbers. I have a negative 7 and a positive 5 be negative 2. So that would be your answer. Let's do one together here. Another one. Let's do the first one. 3x plus 5 plus 4x plus 1. It's great because we're just adding. We'll talk about more when we do subtraction, but focusing on adding. 3 plus 4 is 7x. 5 plus 1 is 6. Now, I want you to not be confused. You're saying there's two sets of parentheses. Shouldn't we be multiplying? The reason we're not multiplying is because this plus sign right there, okay? If they were written side by side, we'd be multiplying. But because that plus sign, we're just adding. So 3x plus 4x is 7x, 5 plus 1 is 6, and that's all you have to do, okay? So I think you can handle those. On the bottom, they're listed vertically for you as opposed to horizontally. So you would do this the same way. 3x squared plus 5x plus 2, 4x squared plus 3x plus 2. Remember, when you're doing math, you kind of work this way over. So I'm going to do plus 2 is 4. 5x plus 3x is 8x. And 3x squared plus 4x squared. Remember, they have to match to add them, and that they do, 7x squared. So that would be your answer. Okay? All right, I'm going to take that in. Doing opposites of polynomials. And then we're going to stop because I'm going to send you some handouts to do. Okay? I don't want to introduce the subtraction yet. We'll do that next week. But we're going to do opposites of polynomials today. If I had 5x to the 4th, 5x squared, minus 3x plus 7. The opposite of this polynomial just means that I'm going to change all the signs. Okay? So this is a positive 5x, so let's just change it. This is a negative 3x, so let's change it to a positive. And this is a positive, so let's change it to negative. This is the opposite of this. So that should be simple enough for you to do. Okay? That is all I'm going to add today. A little bit shorter class than usual, but I don't want to introduce too many new things when I'm not with you. And by the way, with my brain kind of fading out on that one equation, it's probably a sign that I don't need to do too much more. I've still got to teach chemistry. But it is so much better when I'm introducing new topics to have you with me. So be looking for me to send you a couple handouts. Make sure that you finished your book. Make sure that you've completed through page, let's see what page that was on the opposites. Counting the opposites, you're going to complete through page, page 3. Okay, so complete from page 3 in book 4. Next week, we'll wrap up, review book 3, make sure you're ready, take the diagnostic test, add a few more new things, send you home with the test, and we'll be back on track. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can email me if you need to talk or FaceTime or Messenger chat. Just let me know. All right. Hope you have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.